Hey everybody, Dr. Michael here with Valiant Physical Therapy here in Evanston, Illinois, where I specialize in working with runners. And today's question, I have something that's a little bit more related to training. So the question is it okay to walk in a run? And this is a very interesting question because it has a lot to do with the mindset. There's a mindset piece to this, but then there's also an endurance and return to run protocol, returning from an injury kind of perspective here that you can take. So I want to first start with the mindset piece because when I first got into triathlon and the endurance sports, I had it in my mind that when I set out to do a run, I was not going to walk at any point during that run. And the idea was that if I walked, I was I was failing myself, or that I wasn't pushing myself, or that I was giving up and I was taking a break when I really didn't need it. And what I needed to do more than anything was to push through it and prove to myself that I could complete that distance. And if there's no pain and if you can handle the endurance, I think that's a great mindset to have. Maybe that can get a little bit out of control if you know you're not that's not tethered to anything and you're just doing it because that's what you've always done. Sometimes it's nice to have a little bit of mental flexibility, but I think from a discipline and training and intensity and like, okay, why are you doing this from a mental standpoint? Being able to say like, hey, when I go out for a run, I'm running the whole time. I'll only stop for stoplights, and I'll even choose a route that requires me to minimize the amount of interruptions that I'll have because I just want to run the whole time. And I think that's a great mindset. I think it's very helpful at the beginning. And if you can do that, I'd say go for it. Um, where people then who have that mindset get into trouble is if they were to get injured that requires them to take some time off of running, or if they need to pull back from running in some capacity, they think in their mind that running is always nonstop. And one of the things that I do all the time with my patients when I'm bringing them back to running, when I'm helping them with some degree of a return to run progression, is I'll start with a walk run. So they can walk for 4 minutes, run for 1 minute, and then they just kind of cycle that. And that sounds super boring to someone that is used to running multiple miles all the time. But if you're coming out of an injury and we've been taking some time off running, I don't know, we can get, there's a lot of intricacies with this, but if you're coming out of an injury, we just want to make sure that even a little bit of running the injury can tolerate. Okay, so doing some degree of a walk run a lot of times is really helpful when you're coming out of a running injury, because we want to gradually increase the amount of running. Because if someone goes from the point where they're in a half marathon training, they're half marathon training, and they get hurt and it requires them to sit out for a few weeks, and then they just try to plug right back into running, doing the same thing they were doing, and they're saying, okay, I need to catch up, so let me just go for a 6-mile run and I'm going to run the whole time. We don't actually know if the injury can tolerate that, or if the tissue can tolerate that. So starting with some degree of a walk run is sometimes a mental switch that some people need to have to say, hey, it's okay to walk in this instance, because it's not about my discipline and being consistent with running, because I've already proved that to myself. What actually is happening is I'm trying to rehab from an injury and I'm trying to get back to where I want to be. It doesn't have to be a pride thing. You can include walking into your training program if it makes sense based on the specifics of your situation. And then tying into a third piece with the endurance, the people that are starting to run, I think that they get caught up in the idea that in order for them to run or to run a mile, they have to run the whole thing. And for some people, that's actually just too much. And it's not about pushing through it. It's about the fact that they can't breathe. They actually can't breathe. And they just don't have the cardiovascular endurance to handle running. But running is just such a common sport, and it looks so easy for some people. It's very convenient. There's a very low barrier to entry. You just put on your running shoes and you run outside. And if someone actually doesn't have the fitness to just say, hey, I'm going to go run a mile, they can get really discouraged because they're thinking, oh, I can't do it. I can't run because I can't run a mile continuously. I can't run a 5K continuously. But that is putting an unrealistic standard on someone that really doesn't have anything to prove. And What they need to do more than anything is just build some confidence in the initial stages. And honestly, what a lot of people do, especially for 0 to 5K programs, where they're starting from literally no running base to being able to run a 5K, is they'll do a walk run progression where they'll say, okay, day one, I'm going to walk for 60 seconds, and I'm making these numbers up. I'm going to walk for 60 seconds, and then I'm going to run for 30 seconds. And then over time, they gradually build the duration of time that they're running. And depending on their goals, they can just kind of switch over to being able to say, okay, now I'm just going to run for 5 minutes straight or 10 minutes straight or whatever it is. And that's kind of how they build their endurance up to the point where they can actually tolerate continuous running. So is it okay to walk in a run? The answer is maybe. There's many different ways to think about it. If you have the endurance to just go for it, I'd say it's probably better not to take the walk breaks and to build the mental strength to push through. If you're coming out of an injury, don't forget that you can walk. You don't have to run the whole time. And if you're starting from 0 and you're trying to build up your base of endurance, doing some degree of a walk run is going to be really helpful to give you the confidence to say, hey, no, I can do this. I'm getting out there. You're getting stronger. You're building your endurance, and you're enjoying yourself as you're becoming a better runner. So if you like this video, give it a thumbs up. Share it over to some people that you think might help, that you think might enjoy it. And I hope this video was helpful. Thank you.